Some years before Ruger's 10-22 would make its momentous entrance into the rimfire rifle market, Remington had already debuted the Nylon 66. This ultralight, supremely handy 22 LR made extensive use of synthetic materials in its design and construction, and today remains the best ever selling rimfire rifle in Remington's lineup. Although discontinued in the late 1980s, this boldly innovative and shockingly capable little rifle is seeing a huge resurgence in interest among shooters new and old. There are plenty of them still out there, and if you'd like to lay hands on a nifty and underappreciated Remington rimfire, you need to watch this video. Today we're going in-depth on the Nylon 66, including what no one is telling you. But before we go, please take just a moment and consider signing up to become a channel member. Channel members help to make our content even better and reach an even wider audience. To show our unending appreciation, our members get access to exclusive video playlists, downloadable guides, and a lot of other good stuff that we've got planned. Thanks for thinking of us. Now let's check out the rifle. More than 1 million of these guns were produced. Considering how surprisingly rare these plastic fantastic rifles are today, you might be surprised to learn that more than 1 million Remington Nylon 66 were produced. That is a whole lot of guns by any standard. Across more than half a dozen variants, between its debut in 1959 and the discontinuation of production rifles in 1989, Remington turned out tons of these guns to meet ever-increasing public demand. Accordingly, these guns still turn up everywhere. Or should I say, they are still turning up for a while longer yet. But the collector market is booming. As in the case with many things, what was once a lower mid-grade rimfire option back in its day, and as common as nearly any other gun in its category is today, turning into a hotly coveted retro collector's item. It used to be you could find Nylon 66 for sale at every gun shop worth the name, and stuck in the closet of nearly every serious shooter. Today, though, you've got to do some scrounging if you want one, and when you do find one, anyone in the know is going to charge you a pretty penny for it. Depending on the variant, a reasonably used Nylon 66 will set you back anywhere from $550 to well over $2,000. The most common variety is the Mohawk Brown, easily identifiable by its swirly faux wood grain appearance. Those were built all the way through 1987, totaling more than 670,000 rifles. Much rarer is the Seneca Green variety, which was dropped much earlier on due to a lack of public interest. Production of those halted in 1962, with nearly 45,000 being made, a paltry number by comparison. One thing's for sure though, the longer you wait, the higher the prices are going to get. The receiver is actually nylon, not metal. The most remarkable thing about the Nylon 66 is in the name. Nearly every major component, aside from the bolt, barrel, firing pin, sights, and various other small parts and springs, is made of DuPont Zytel Nylon 101, which itself belongs to their Nylon 66 family of moldable plastics. That's where the rifle got its name. But what you probably don't know, just from looking at it, is that the actual receiver is itself made from this structural plastic, including the very rails that the bolt rides on. And I already know what you're going to say. The receiver sure looks metal to the eye, and indeed it does. But what you see is a receiver cover, not the receiver itself. This receiver cover was a clever trick on Remington's part, one with a couple of advantages. Aside from holding in the ejector and other small parts, it dressed the rifle up to make it appear more conventional and attractive to the shooting public. You must remember that this was one of the very, very earliest mass-produced guns that used synthetics this exclusively. We take polymers for granted today, but it was extraordinary back then, and a real gamble on Remington's part. Very literally, the two halves of the receiver and stock assembly, molded to mate together in a sort of tongue and groove arrangement, are permanently bonded together before the receiver plate is installed over it and surrounding it, hiding the actual Zytel receiver from the uninitiated. The Nylon 66 is incredibly light. If you've never handled a Nylon 66, you're in for a real surprise. Because so much of the gun itself is actually made from Zytel, the weight savings are tremendous. Unloaded, with no scope, a standard nylon 66 weighs a feathery light 4 pounds. It's so light, you can literally forget it's there when it's slung or stashed in a scabbard. Although you cannot truly call it a takedown or backpack rifle owing to its length, it is so light that it is extremely easy to carry even across vast distances with very little exertion. This, and its other excellent attributes we'll talk about in a minute, has endeared the Nylon 66 to hikers, backpackers, small game hunters, and other folks who are on their feet and hoofing it all day, and sometimes all night in the great outdoors. There is a lot more you'll want to know about the Nylon 66, but before I share with you the next fun fact, take 2 seconds to hit like and subscribe. You'll really be helping us out here on All About Survival. And those 2 little clicks also ensure you won't miss out on any of our great upcoming videos. The grooved metal receiver cover can still accept a scope. Now, learning this about the receiver and knowing anything at all about polymer construction in guns of our era, you are probably already thinking this fact precludes a Nylon 66 from mounting a scope, or at least mounting one that can achieve any sort of consistent accuracy. I am happy to say, and I hope you're happy to learn, that you are wrong in this case. That metal receiver cover plate also features a dovetailed rib for mounting an old-fashioned rimfire scope. If you're willing to go old school, you can still pop a scope on one today, and many a Nylon 66 left the Big Green factory wearing one. Speaking of, while I can't think of one off the top of my head, there has to be an aftermarket manufacturer out there that makes a Picatinny rail for this type of rib. I think a rifle this light and handy cries out for a good red dot. Anyway, don't let that nylon receiver get you down, because optics are definitely still on the table for this classic rifle. These rifles are surprisingly accurate. I've got even better news for you if you have your heart set on scoping on Nylon 66. I've shot countless dozens of these little rifles over the years, and each and every one of them has proven to be surprisingly accurate. With good, modern, high-velocity .22 ammo, most will achieve 1.5 to 2 MOA at 50 yards if you do your part. That is nothing to sneeze at for a modestly priced, mid-century rimfire that has absolutely no modifications. Back in its heyday, this was seen as quite impressive, and it still holds up against any modern and significantly more expensive semi-auto .22s. You won't be giving up anything in terms of mechanical accuracy if you give in to your retro cravings with this lightweight wonder. Nylon 66 have a proven track record of reliability. More than anything, it is the reliability and durability of the Nylon 66 that proves this design is sorely underappreciated today, and arguably it was underappreciated back in the middle of the 20th century too. Those rifles, with precious few exceptions, are incredibly tough and reliable. In arguably the most famous use of these guns, in an exhibition, Remington shooter Tom Fry fired over 100,000 rounds in 13 days at one of his famous shoots to set a record on aerial targets. He stopped only to periodically brush fouling off the face of the bolt. Remington itself put the prototype Nylon 66 through a grueling trial of 75,000 rounds, and the gun demonstrated a vanishingly small malfunction rate of only 0.005%. Remington was so confident in the rifle and the revolutionary material that DuPont developed for them that they guaranteed the stock and receiver assembly against chipping, breakage, fading, discoloration, warping, or any other defect for the life of the gun. Period. In all of my travels, talking with owners of these rifles, I have heard near universal praise for their trustworthiness in all kinds of weather conditions and environments. Taking all of this in total, it's no exaggeration to say this is one of the toughest little rimfires ever made, despite its barely their weight. And if you're hunting for a specimen of your own, don't worry about brittleness. They all seem as tough and rugged today as the day they rolled out of the factory. The barrels are prone to deflection though. If the Nylon 66 could be said to have a true flaw, or maybe an Achilles heel is a better phrase for it, it is the fact that the barrels are prone to deflection from external pressure. Due to the way that the barrel is fitted in the action, and that the somewhat flexible stock and receiver assembly surrounds it, if you grip it before and too lightly, bench it too hard, lever it into a brace or rest, or sling it up into a tourniquet tight hold, you're likely to pull the barrel this way or that. You aren't going to damage it, but you will spoil your shot. It is enough to change the point of impact, and this is especially noticeable if you're using a scope. The solution is a simple one that modern guerrilla gripper shooters and C-clamp tactical assassins will have to remind themselves of. Hold it firmly, but gently. And if you're going to pull the gun in good and tight, do so with the shooting hand. It's a flyweight gun, and one that demands a light touch. This one simple trick will keep your Nylon 66 punching out bullseyes. And that is everything you need to know about the Nylon 66, including all the straight dope that no one is telling you. This progenitor of modern polymer firearms made Remington a mint, and even today, it stands up incredibly well against some of the best rimfires on the market. Here's hoping Remington will bring it back one day, but if they don't, and if you find one, you better find it fast. So here's my question for you. Would you choose a Nylon 66 in all of its retro glory over more modern rimfire semi-auto rifles? Or are you happy to stick with a newer design? Let me know down in the comments. And before you go, remember to hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. That will do it for me today, but I will catch you in the next video. Shoot straight and take care.